Hey, what's up, you guys? Hope you're having an amazing day. Check this out, guys. I chose to do this video because it was so important. It's called the hurricane. Acknowledge it happened. So, personally, here in South Texas, Corpus Christi and the surrounding areas, of course, everybody knows we were hit by Hurricane Harvey. And so, I wanted to really touch up on this topic because without knowing it, my experience through it really showed me not just things about like life or what a hurricane is, but about when you go through a hurricane, you will discover who you really are. What are you gonna do? Um, how well do you manage panic? How well will you, as soon as like contribute, like help other, as soon as it happens, what actions will you take to help others? Will you be selfish? Will you like get into action? And so many things happened that I realized that I got to learn about myself that I just really wanted to make this topic and make this video and tell you guys that that it has to be acknowledged. You cannot, it seems like it already happened and like we have no business talking about it anymore. But I feel like it could definitely continue to be used as an example of important situations that are going to happen in your life, whether they represent catastrophe, like a really bad part happening in your life. So I just want to share this video to add value so you can be ready for when another major life situation or any kind of event in your life happens. So check this out, guys. So at the time, I was actually in about to start college, a master's program. So Hurricane Harvey hit about around the summer of 2017, I want to say, and it was super important because um, I was not sure even that Hurricane Harvey was going to happen. Like, if I'm being honest, I was not prepared at all, but I was also like not believing it was going to hit us. Like, hurricanes, we always get hurricane alerts here in this, Gulf of Mexico coastal area, Corpus Christi, and for the most, for basically for all my life, it would always be the same. It's just like, oh, we get this hurricane alert, and then like the hurricanes would just move up, and like they would never hit. So, uh, a habit was created in my mind. They're like, oh, I don't have to worry about that. In the meantime, some other family members, like my mom, other uncles, would always like, regardless, be like want to prepare and like, prepare like extra cases of water, food, and they had developed a habit of always being ready. And so by that, I remember it was like on a Thursday or Friday, and I was just sitting at home, just not planning for college, planning for a new semester, and my parents and my brother just dart on the open the door and say, we're leaving, we're evacuating, let's go. And I'm like, are you sure? It's like, yeah, like this hurricane is coming. And so that's when you got to realize that you have to take action. And so check this out, guys. So many things were affected by this hurricane. For example, like college was extended here at one of the local universities here. I want to say school started like about a week later because of the hurricane in Houston. Um, I know that other A&M school up there, some classes were canceled. Like, tons of people in the city of Houston were flooded. Rockport was affected big time here in the college, in the coastal Bend area. And so like so many people suffered, like really, like they're real. And maybe just because it didn't have it like affect you directly or personally, or things weren't as bad in Corpus Christi or in some areas, then it doesn't mean it wasn't really bad for other people. Um, Personally, I had friends that either owned a business in Rockport or had lived there, and then after the hurricane happened, like they just had to move. There was no work. There was no, like, they had no business doing there. Like, there's just nothing. There's no work, no food. Schools were shut down. Like, they literally had to move. Some of my personal friends now live in Louisiana, San Antonio, moved to Austin, California, because like everything they had was gone. They lost everything. Um, I even get emotional and like because I just have to say that I'm grateful that I wasn't like super horribly affected. I want to say in my experience, like we just kind of lost power for about 2 weeks max after the hurricane. So we did fine with no electricity, and then everything else was just fine. But like what mostly compelled me to like create this video is that like I personally in my mind I still have that feeling that I wish I had done more. I always would love to help. I want to help the community, and like I'm stepping more into that point in my life where I want to help more people, get more involved in the community. And when that hurricane happened, I wasn't ready, and so I saw a lot of action being taken. Like so many people here in Houston and Rockport, they were like delivering hot meals, like helping people, setting up sandbags, so many things that were happening while I personally went into a mindset of more of like, wait a minute, I personally right now don't have the financial means to go, buy food, buy sandbags, buy water, and just give it all away. And so I just want to share with you some ideas that you can think about, consider, know who you are, and then move on, and then take action, y'all. So other than that, so I wrote this down. Your first public service announcement for sure. It's always, regardless, be prepared for the hurricane. If you know hurricane season is coming, just be prepared. Even though you might not believe the hurricane is coming your way, it might be. So, do follow what the authorities say, what the news say, know where your route or plan of evacuation is. Put all your documents in a safe, water resistant backpack, and be ready to just take them. Buy more cases of water, buy more food, invest in a power generation. That is a generator. That's just kind of my public service announcement because I want to be, that everybody's going to say that. So you want to definitely follow that. Like I said, I already told you guys the hurricane wasn't going to happen. And then a couple of months later after that happened, I got to work for like TV. And so while I was on there, it had been like months past the hurricane, but even the Hurricane Harvey was still being talked about, and some of the anchors were still bringing it up, putting it in the rundown in the production, and we were getting Facebook comments from the news station saying, "Hey, why are you still talking about Hurricane Harvey? That's not news anymore." While other like really respectable anchors said, "No, no, no, you don't understand. Hurricane Harvey is probably the biggest thing that has happened in Corpus Christi or the coastal bend in over 100 years. Like it's like 40, 60 to 100 years. Like so, it's important. It has to be acknowledged, and that's like one of the biggest like takeaways from this video. It's like acknowledge it happened. You can't just move on and just ignore that. It just forget about it. It happened, and so it happened, and it affected people in a big way. Whether you see it or not, it was a catastrophe. Like acknowledge it was a catastrophe. Like even if you think no, it wasn't. Like don't like assume that it was a catastrophe in a way that it affected not maybe you but others. And so how can you be mindful for what others went through? And that's why it has to be talked about. Like you have to bring it up. People will continue to talk about it, and people chose to go different ways. I know some people like drove to San Antonio. They just drove up north. I personally went to go stay with my family that lives in Mexico, not too far away, and so that was what we did. And then like a big point I wanted to say is that what should you do? Like really know who you are. Are you able to help others, or should you first help yourself? Do you have the means to help others, or should you take care of yourself? Like think about that, analyze that, and if you're not the person that has the extra means to help others, contribute to someone that can, or then it's best to just take care of yourself so you can survive. It's the same thing when you go in an airplane. What should you do? You're told to, in case of an emergency, you first put on your own oxygen mask, and then you put on the oxygen mask of the person next to you. And that's important. So many things like were affected. I remember like the news and the constant updates. It was that all businesses were shut down, and like Rockport specifically, and then people would like do daily food drives up there and offer hot food and hot plates of breakfast or hot dogs because people had no food. There was no electricity and it was very difficult. So whatever way you can contribute, there's different ways you can always contribute. You can contribute with your time, you can contribute with your money, with your gifts, you can contribute in spirit with prayers. Those are always just some ways that you can contribute. Don't believe just because you weren't there physically that your contribution cannot, reach them. And so if you are the person that does love to contribute, just know, but you're not able, just know that things will get taken care of. Like government agencies will step into place. The people that have the resources will take action, like big law firms, like big names, grocery chains, whatever, people that choose to donate, things will happen. But in that moment, will that change you? Will you decide, hey, it's my time. Now I'm able to contribute. How can I do this? And when that's ready, when that moment comes for you, how will you take action? And so I know that personally we had people come knock on our door and say, hey, we're like from the government. We need to evaluate your home. And to me, I grew up with the idea that hurricanes are supposed to be this devastating thing that happens and that the whole house just is completely wiped out, and then there's just massive destruction, and you would see those things kind of like in all kinds of other places in Asia and China, and other like islands. And so because that wasn't my case, I felt in my heart, it's like, well, we're doing okay. There was some damage to like a roof and just other like trees and whatnot. We did lose electrical power. There was several trees falling, and so yeah, and so what we did is like, okay, we'll still allow the professionals to come evaluate you and say, well, you look at the roof, and some of like we were told that even though it didn't seem that much, like your roof was affected, like you need to, and some support, we received some support so like our roof could be fixed, and that way in the long run we didn't, like, our roof wouldn't continue to deteriorate, which was amazing. So like a takeaway from that is just like receive the help that's being offered to you because it's for your own good. Like I know personally, I was raised in a culture of like pride, and so like sometimes help is not welcome, but like you can change that by just being open to receive the help that is being offered to you. And let's see what else I have here. So I'm just here kind of gonna wrap it up with my takeaways. My takeaways for you, the morals of this video, is number one, acknowledge a hurricane happened. You experienced a hurricane, and so whether it affected you in drastic and dramatic ways, just know every hurricane is a catastrophe. It came by, it did its damage, and if you think about it, that thing was huge. It was as big as from Corpus Christi to San Antonio to Houston. Like this was an enormous hurricane that had like a huge reach. So acknowledge it happened. Number two is that what will you do to recover? Whether it affected your family, your personal life, your college career, your high school career, what will you do to recover? Have a plan. Start saying, maybe I'm mentally or in my life in a point where like I'm all broken down. How are you gonna get back up? And number three for you guys is, what will you do to prepare for the next hurricane? Every single hurricane season that comes, well, what are you gonna do? Are you going to practice every year? Practice, just like buy a few more cases of water, stock up on a few cans. Go get those sandbags that are being offered, because that's gonna get you ready for when that next hurricane, the series one, comes. Okay, and so keep doing that. Invest always in like a power generator. Like in my family or in our households, we like never had to own a power generator because they're not needed. But like, why not invest one and you be the generation that changes that? So again, I want to repeat this because it's the main motto of this video. When you go through a hurricane, acknowledge it as a meaningful point in your life because it represents planning that you will learn how to do. It represents catastrophe. It represents overcoming adversity. It represents the teamwork that you can be a part of once you contribute to, recovery resort efforts. And most importantly, how will you, after a hurricane, return to achieving your life goals and stay on track? Awesome, guys. This one video went a little bit longer, but it had to be acknowledged. Now that it has been acknowledged, you can move on and progress and continue to grow in a new level in your life, in a new chapter. And once you acknowledge it, I encourage you to write it down. I encourage you to write it down, maybe journal about it, plan how will you recover, and then prepare every single year. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Hope you guys have an amazing time. Look out for the next video coming soon. I cannot wait to do another one.